Welcome back. Our two knives are safely taped up, and we have been holding off because we've been waiting for this very key piece of this project. Now I get a lot of my supplies from knifemaker.ca. So here I just had a bunch of new micarta come in, yellow, black, forest green, and white. Those will be fun to use on different projects. But what I ordered was our mosaic pins that were requested for this build. I know it's pretty small, so it's a little bit tough for you guys to see, but what we have is stainless and brass with a black epoxy in there and brass tubing. So these are mosaic pins. That's the one we're going to use on this. And today, if you remember, we're going to be doing the scales. That's the next step in this project. We're going to be gluing everything up. Now we're doing the identical scale setup for both of these blades, and that is Coyote Brown stacked with, it's called red coral canvas. It's kind of a wine or a burgundy, and we're doing a two-tone like you see here. So it's going to be stacked like this and done on either side of the tang like that. So it is going to look amazing. Don't forget then our brass mosaic pin, brass and stainless mosaic pin, and then we have our stainless tubing here for our lanyard hole on this big one. Now we just have to rough cut these out, our pieces for each one, drill it out, glue it up. Making it sound simple, it's a little bit of work, it's a little bit complex to get it right. But it's going to look so good, this material. It's looking really dark here now. I can see on this camera screen it's looking dark. You're not getting all the red tones the same. Once we cut into it, I'll show you guys. I think it's going to look amazing. This thing is going to be so classy. Now all our scales have been drilled, the pinholes are drilled. I didn't show you all that because it's a bit tedious for me and it's super boring. I'm just drilling holes and being really careful when I'm doing it, so you don't get any cool metal shavings like you do when I'm drilling the steel tangs. It's just kind of boring. So now what I'm doing is some of the sides of this synthetic material, one side usually always comes polished so you can see the material, the other side is unpolished. Well, anything that's getting glued or epoxied needs to be, we need to remove the polished surface. So I've just got some 60 grit sandpaper here on a flat surface, and I'm just scrubbing them down, taking all that polish down to a nice coarse glue accepting surface. Here we go. And there she is, all stacked up. Squeeze it with some clamps. We are good. Here we are, all glued up. Went pretty smoothly. No panicking, no issues. All our cuts were real precise. Everything was laid out nicely. I'm sure the glue up will go fine. I've never had an issue with a glue up yet in terms of epoxy setting up right or getting bad results or bad joints. Everything is always pretty seamless in that way. So it is getting colder now. I'll take them in the house where it's warmer to dry overnight. But yeah, I can't wait to get at this tomorrow. Start carving away, and then you'll start to see my favorite part of the process, which is seeing the handles come to life, because that's when you actually get to see what you made. Before that, before the handles are on there, it's just a piece of steel, and anybody can carve away at a piece of steel. But it's when you get to this work that the real craftsmanship, and you start to really see what you've put together.
Not sure of much, but I'm sure of that. I wrote this thing. You'd get a kick out of it. It started like most everything I do as.
Well, here we are, my favorite day, which is finishing those handles. Like I said, this is when we get to see the knife we actually built. First thing we're going to do is use the bandsaw here to take off all the excess material. Here are those handles super rough ground in, but you can see that two-tone color, which I am super proud of. Just look how that looks with those pins. This material, you can see the reds in it now. Just like I said, once you've opened it up and carved away the polished surface, we'll get it back to a polished surface where it'll be nice and dark and elegant again. But right now, I'm going to clamp it in the vise, and we're going to use some files and file it into our proper shape. After a lot of sanding, what we came up with is this right here. So we have two matching handles. The stacked red coral canvas micarta, so it's kind of like a burgundy color. And we have it stacked with that coyote brown. Just look at that. Those mosaic pins, just so classy. Trying to do my best to relay the color to you guys, and here in this light, seems like you can see it here now. It's a little easier to see with the eye. You can see all the different tones here in this burgundy, but just look at that. Those pins. What do you think of those pins? And mix with that tan. Just look at that finish. Those seams there are absolutely flawless. There's just not a space anywhere. I just think that's a wonderful combination of colors. Then of course with that mirror polish, that is so classy. Let's take a look at the big one here. That lanyard hole turned out really well. So neither of these blades have final edges on them yet, and we don't have our sheaths, so I'm not putting edges on these until we have sheaths and we can slip them in and be safe and forget about it. So the leather work is what's left. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Hope you really are liking this project. I'm really enjoying this series. It's definitely a big challenge for me. Lots of things I haven't done before, but just loving the way this is turning out. Please hit the like button if you're liking what you're watching. Leave me a comment down below. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. We'll see you in the next video.